Hey guys, mtgnoob here, and for this week's standard installment, I will be bringing you the Shaheen Saruni's Esperwalkers deck. If you want a little bit better explanation, you can go check out starcitygames.com under the free section. He tells more about like legacy, but he has some tips. So this is the exact list, except he did say that he wanted some rest in pieces in the board, so I did make that change. Alright, so let's get to the deck. 25 lands, 4 Glacial Fortress, 4 Hollowed Fountain, 4 Catacomb, 4 Chapel, 2 Plains, 2 Islands, 1 Swamp. You get your basics because you're playing 2 Evolving Wilds, and 2 Drown Yards. Now basically a quick note on the mana base, a lot of your lands will come into play tapped, so don't get frustrated if that's the case. Some of your hands may seem a little bit too slow because of your tap lands, so mulligan wisely if you can. Another note on the mana base is this is your alternate win condition, which is you Drown Yard your opponent to death and you crash their ship, as you can see in the picture, and mill them out. Alright, so let's talk about the creatures in the deck. There are 2 technically in Augur Bolas, excuse me, 3 technically currently in the main deck, Augur Bolas, and then you get some other creatures in a sense where you have Lingering Souls and you have Sorin, which makes 1/1 vampire blood-sucking dorks. To throw onto those creatures, since you're playing a very heavy spell-based deck, you have 1 of Runechanter's Pike, which does make a spirit token very, very hard to deal with. So let's talk about our removal spells. You have 2 Ultimate Price in the main, kill some monocolored creatures. You have 4 Supreme Verdict to sweep the boards. You have 2 Detention Sphere to get rid of nasty things that get through your massive amount of counter spells in the main. I'm being facetious. Okay, and let's talk about those massive amount of counter spells. You have 1 Negate and 2 Dissipate. So there are going to be times where creatures get into play, you wipe them with a Supreme Verdict. There are going to be times where a Planeswalker or an annoying enchantment or artifact gets into play and you de-sphere it. Finally, we have 2 more things to note. You have some card draw. 1 Sphinx's Revelation. This I got my eyes on because I want to basically more or less try to maybe run an extra copy. It's possible that it's a little bit slow, but pretty good card. Also like a $23 card now, which is insane. I wish I picked mine up. I had a chance to buy them at 6, and of course I had like 5 tickets and like 98/100ths of another ticket, and I was like, screw it, I'll just buy it tomorrow. Then before I knew it, it was like, oh, it's 23 bucks. It quadrupled. Okay, Thought Scour I'm not too big on. I understand why you would run these, because you do have things that have flashback. And it does fill the bin for this, but I haven't been really too keen on them. I also think you want an early play, because a lot of times you don't have an early play outside of maybe a turn 2 this, turn 3 this. So they're okay, so I'm keeping an eye on these 3 cards so far. Azorius Charm, you're not playing 4, you're playing 3. A lot of the decks you have problems with putting things back on top is not really a solution. The lifelink is relevant, and the card draw is pretty good. Okay, and 3 Forbidden Alchemy, because you just want to dig deep and, you know, really pull the card from the deck that you want, kind of like a rabbit out of a hat. Alright, finally, the reason for the season, which is Esperwalkers, is you're playing 7 Planeswalkers. 3 Jace, which seems to be the correct number of Jace. I'm still not super impressed with Jace in this iteration. I think he's cool, but he's not as amazing as one would hope. 2 Sorin, who's been pretty good. Sometimes he dies to like Flashed in Resto Angel, or, you know, Thundermaw Hellkite, or Falconwrath Aristocrat off the top, but he still does work, and spitting out dudes, gaining a little life, buffing your guys, and then occasionally minusing 6 and destroying things is all pretty relevant. And then Tamio, who is the Moon Sage, who taps things down, draws some cards, and then basically is another combo with this. Because if you ultimate her and then you thought scour them, you just mill them out and draw infinite cards pretty much. You have to have mana to do it, don't get me wrong. Alright, so the main deck seems very tight. One thing to note about the main deck is I'm going to be playing some matches with it. Lingering Souls seems like a defensive card, but at times if you have enough of them, it's most likely that you can start beating down if you feel that you're ahead. Also, Lingering Souls in multiples is very weak to Detention Spheres and Bonfires, and most importantly, Thundermaw Hellkite. So you got to keep in mind you don't want to overextend. Alright, let's talk about the sideboard. I'll move some stuff over here. More or less you have kind of, I don't want to say a toolbox sideboard. I understand this isn't a 3-drop. I'm sorry if that makes people OCD. My bad. And it still didn't even work. Damn you, extra cards. Alright, you wanted this Augur for aggro, negates for control, ultimate price for very big monsters that are annoying. Rest in Peace, kind of to deal with the Reanimator matchup, but remember when you're playing with Rest in Peace, you're more or less want to remove some of these, which, you know, isn't always a common sense thing, but nonetheless, it's pretty good. Feeling of Dread, which hopefully buys you time to get to this against aggro. Sundering Growth for Oblivion Ring, Runechanter's Pike, and other Detention Spheres. It also helps you populate a token if you have one. Okay, Evil Twin is kind of a catch-all in the legendary realm of things. It's also pretty good at copying large monsters and then killing their large monster. So I'm actually a big fan of this card currently. Curse of Deathhold, if you feel you can get it down against the aggro decks, is very strong, but you have no ramp, so this is a 5-drop, and they might just kill you by then, and sometimes this isn't good enough, because Smiter might still be a 3/3, and you really don't have anything that trades with anything above a 1 toughness. So curses are something I've got on the radar, but they're much better on the play than on the draw. And then finally, this giant Drog Skull Reaver. He's going to choke you out and make you miserable. He has a lot of relevant abilities. He trades with most everything, and he's just very strong. The gaining life, drawing cards is pretty sick. Plus, you know, you can gain life here, you can gain life here, you can gain life here. So it's pretty relevant. He comes in against kind of like a trump, I guess you could say, when an extra haymaker against the slower decks, I would think. Okay, so that's been the deck tech. I'm going to play some matches now, and thanks for watching. Please check out themtgnoob.com.